All right, Kyle, what is going on, my man? Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. Um,
Well, we had to
welcome.
hit record because we were having such a good conversation for going on almost 25 minutes here, which is a good thing, but you're busy, I'm busy, and the audience I know can get some value out of what you're going to deliver and just what you have going on. I'm beyond impressed with what you have going on. So, just to kick off, man, I have a few places I want to go, but can you give the audience a high level overview on what you do now, and then types of properties, types of stuff that you're trying to do more of, what your portfolio looks like, high level, and then we'll dig into the nuts and bolts of it a little bit more.
Okay, so high level today, we have about 60 doors under management for short-term rentals for our personal company, and one of those includes a boutique hotel that we own and operate. Out of the STRs, I own one with partners. We sold the others, and then we manage for 24 others. And we have a couple of deals in the works. I'm looking at the board. So if you see me look off, I'm just looking because I still have the stuff wrote down on the structure. So we have a deal that we're signing equity in and managing up in Maine, and that's like a little resort. And we also have a deal that we are signing, if we haven't already signed, for about 150 more properties coming on. So it's another management company that we have created. And so, all in all, mid-year we'll probably be just over 200 doors managed. I think it's like 220 is what it puts us at. Along with the management company that we're still growing, and we have a full team growing that. We also have the PowerPath community that we launched last year, and the vision for that is number one real estate community in the world for short-term rentals and boutique hotels. And that's a big statement. And when I first started saying it, I was like, man, this is crazy to even think about. But it is by far, like, you want to talk about like massive movement in a community for short-term rentals. This is by far like the best I've ever seen. And I come from some other communities, coached in a few others. We do this full time. So I used to be on a W-2. I was an electrical engineer. My wife was a teacher. And so we just do short-term rentals and real estate full time. Properties that we're going after, I'm not really going after any more STRs. We're just more so going after like hotels and resorts. And partnerships is what we're going to be really identifying. I've done the deals where we either just raise the money and we do it ourselves, or we go through everything ourselves, try to do everything ourselves, and it's just at scale it doesn't make sense. Like if that's your only project, that's the only thing you're worried about, great, do it. But when you talk about like raising money, syndicating, rehab, like massive rehab, like $1 million rehab, when you talk about pitch decks and due diligence and refinances, like it's just tough to do it all by yourself. So not really looking at any more STRs. We used to flip a lot, don't flip anything anymore. So just hotels, just resorts, and some partnerships as far as like growing business too.
Epic, I love it. And you mentioned we a few times. Is that you and your wife, you
Yes.
and anyone else? Like,
Just
what
me and
is.
me and the wife, me and Allie. So we do
Okay,
everything
got it.
together. We every partnership we sign or do, we always do it together. And we do have some other partners outside for like certain deals, like this deal up in Maine, this resort. It's some friends of ours. They brought the deal to us. So when I say we sign a deal with them, that's me and Allie sign a deal with them, and then the 150 doors that we're talking about, that is a partnership with some other friends, some old students that we used to have. Brought us this idea, and literally, I think it's like 180 properties ready to go from like one self managed. It's a crazy story, but me and my wife said, let's do it. So
I love
that's
it.
where the we. Anytime I say we,
So
it's me and my wife.
I gotta ask, because you have a lot going on, and it is you and her. Like, how do you manage your time? How do you think about, okay, today's a Tuesday, or tomorrow's a Tuesday? Like, how do you manage your time to make sure that you get everything done? You manage your properties, your community. Like, you got to have an amazing productivity or just time management system to be able to do the stuff you're doing as quickly as you're doing it.
Yeah. So I would say rule number one is live by a calendar. And so this took us I remember when we quit the W-2. So like, if somebody's not setting a schedule for you, you have to set it, right? So like, when we quit the W-2, I remember there was like 2 weeks of just like, I was on fire. I was going to get up at like 5 o'clock. I was going to do this. I was going to do this. I'd have the rest of the day. And if you don't actually go in and like write down everything you're doing every day, whatever meetings that you want, learn how to time block, your days will just go by and like you won't get anything done. And it literally took us like 12 months to really start like narrowing down, because nobody actually told us like, this is what you need to do. So Google Calendar, don't ever time block less than like an hour for anything. We would time block for like 30 minutes or 15 minutes, unless it's like a reminder to stand up, if you're sitting down all day. Like the way it works inside of like a 30-minute meeting is you have like 5 to 7 minute ramp up to say, okay, I've got to do X, Y, and Z. Okay, let me close out my tabs. Let me open this. You got 5 to 7 minutes there. And then out of a 30-minute meeting, you have like 10 minutes of productivity. Then you have like a 5 to 10 minute, or 5 to 7 minute like ramp down. In that time, you need to use the bathroom. You got to get some water. Like you have all this stuff. And so like there was something I listened to a long time ago that said, don't ever time block less than 2 hours. And I was like, whoa. So that put a lot of things in perspective. So we don't go less than about an hour. So even if I have like a 45-minute meeting or a 30-minute meeting, I try not to stack them because they'll run into each other. Like it's just the way it works. So Google Calendar is huge. And then the 4 Ds. You know the 4 Ds?
4 disciplines of execution? No.
So the 4 Ds is do, delay, delegate, delete. Yep. So you got your to-do list. You write everything down. And I've done different like calendars and planners and all that stuff. And some of them are good. Some of them are horrible. But you have like the 4 Ds. So if you can't do it, then you delay it to tomorrow or whatever, next week. If you can't delay it, it has to get done, and you can't do it, then you delegate it. Excuse me. So like maybe tell your admin or your assistant or your VA or whoever to delegate it. And if it doesn't get delegated and it just sits on the to-do list for weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months, just delete it. And if somebody comes screaming at the door, sending you a ton of emails to get something done or certified mail or whatever, then that's when you say, okay, like this is on fire and let's get it done. Yeah. So I go by that. I definitely
kind of reminds me of like the story of the executive go on vacation for 2 weeks, gets back, it's probably just BS, not true, but he just deletes all his emails and says, if it's important, it'll come back around. Like
yeah,
it's you're not doing that, but in general, it sounds like you're just prioritizing the most important things, and the rest, if it's important enough, it'll find its way back or get done. So one question, I guess, just like especially in businesses that couples are doing together, is like, what does your wife do and what do you do in the business as far as like activities, but also skill sets? Because it sounds like it's working, but you might have different skills that can kind of connect together.
Yeah, so that was a great question, because when we started the STR business, like started co-hosting and all that, I coach a lot of couples. And what happens is they're like, well, they see us and they're like, well, you know what you're doing, and how do I know what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, what happens is you share the lane at the very beginning. Like, you're both like, I remember driving in the car and I'm like, hey, can you message that guest back? Before the VAs, we had like 4 or 5 properties, and it was like, can you send the message, or do you want me to send the message? Okay, so we're both guest messaging. Together we're doing payout reports. Together we're trying to figure out how claims work. Together we're figuring this out, how to launch a listing. Maybe she's building a listing, I'm building a listing. So like together we did that. And then at some point we kind of started breaking. We realized what we're good at. So like I've always been good at the numbers, always. She's always been good at talking to people and dealing with, she's a lot more like operations. So we both did the same a lot for a long time, and then we split. So today the way it looks like is she does a lot, probably 95% of the operations, 90 to 95% of the operations for the STR company, for the management company. I run mainly the hotel. So like and what happened is when I started doing all the renovations for the hotel, I was doing everything. I literally stepped away and I was like, I can't even think about CRH. Like I have to get the hotel done. I was ripping up water lines and managing contractors and raising money and all this stuff by myself. And she picked up massive load on, like, grew the team even more on CRH, so that she did all the operations there. And then I did mainly everything for the hotel, dealing with the cleaners, hiring direct, all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of how it is now. So if something blew up at the hotel, it's like call Kyle. If something blows up in CRH, it's call Allie. But what we're working on is we have an admin. And last week we had a goal setting meeting dinner for the three of us. We said, okay, what we're doing is we were trying to talk about this before, is we are starting the umbrella company for all of the hospitality. And as it comes down, like, we have the different companies that are under, right? Hotel management, CRH, and then this other partnership. And when you look at the business structure of, like, the organization chart, what we want is Brittany to insulate us completely. And so, like, we can still have direct access to, like, my maintenance guy and my head VA, but everything else needs to flow through Brittany to get to us. And that's just something as you grow. That's not something you just start with.
Totally get it. So actually, I just want to now make it clear, like, you and your wife are running the business together, doing a lot of tasks together, but you do have a few people that can help fill in on tasks and run. Yeah. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yes.
Sorry, I just want to make sure that I understand it.
Yeah, it could be a little deceiving, like they're doing everything. No, we have like 6 VAs. I have full-time maintenance guy. When I say 6 VAs, like, we have, just to give like like some information on like what it looks like once you get to a certain point. We got 3 VAs that work 24/7 for all, like, guest messaging, claims, listings, all that stuff. So we have 24/7 coverage there. I have a almost full-time VA. She answers the phones for the hotel, and she picks up for CRH too. But like, STR management companies don't get a lot of phone calls, so it's just kind of here and there. The hotel will clock like 70 phone calls on a Saturday in a busy seat. So, yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
So full-time there, we have a social media VA. So she does social media. She does half of my personal page. I have another guy that does my personal stuff. And then we have for CRH and the hotel. She does all that stuff. Gotcha. We are hiring on, now I have for PowerPath, we have like a copywriter that's come on part-time. I've got a VA that's helping me on the back end of, like, the community side for PowerPath. I got Brittany, and I have, we are looking to hire a revenue manager VA. I was looking at my organizational chart up there. So, and I have my full-time maintenance guy too. So, like, gotcha. The biggest thing is, like, don't answer the phone every time somebody calls. Like, stop
answering.
That's you
or your team, or who's getting that
for
advice?
Me. Like, okay. I only really, like, people say, like, well, I don't have time for anything through the day because my phone's always ringing. If anybody's phone rings more than it's me. My phone is always ringing for something.
Yep.
And I got to a point where I just quit answering it. Period. Like, just put it on Do Not Disturb, get your stuff done, look at your Google Calendar. If it's an emergency, like, it's my admin, I answer. My head VA, I answer. My maintenance guy, I answer about 30% of the time. And then he just texts me if there's a problem. So you have to, like, build that boundary of, like, stop answering the phone all the time. Mm-hmm. So that's a big one. But the team handles 99% of everything. And then, like, Allie runs the operations team for CRH, and I run the operations team for the hotel. And then we just kind of come back together. So, like, we're always putting fires out, right?
How do you guys deal with task management and communication, like, tool-wise? Is it Monday, Asana, Notion, Slack? Like, walk us through your tech stack.
Yeah, so for communication, we are mixed between WhatsApp. We were using Monday pretty heavily, but if you don't pay attention to the seats, you end up paying, like, for blocks, and we were paying, I don't even remember, $2,000 a year or something. It was insane. And so we're like, okay, how do we get smarter about this? Like, you can, if you're not careful about what's going out money-wise, and Monday charges once a year. So it's like, you don't see it for 11 months, and then bam, you get charged, and you're like, oh crap. So we were using Monday really heavily, and then we switched to ClickUp. And then we have, like, end-of-day reports from the VAs in WhatsApp. So we have a WhatsApp channel just for end-of-day reports. So if I want to go back and check, like, what happened in that end of day report is like how many phone calls were made, you know, how many times, like how many reservations come from phone calls for the hotel and for CRH. So they clock that stuff. Let's see. WhatsApp is huge, and WhatsApp can get out of hand when you get so many properties because you have so many cleaners and you have all this stuff. But it is important because, like, I just silence them. Like, I mute all the channels except, like, 3. We have, like, 27 channels or something. But the VAs, like, the team really handles that. So when something comes up, we've got cleaners that may submit photos over there because, you know, depending on the situation, we prefer it come through Turno for cleaner management. But if it doesn't, you know, it'll be WhatsApp. I have not dove into Slack yet. I have used Slack plenty, but the back end team for PowerPath wants to use Slack. So like marketing and the sales side, like everybody wants to use Slack, which is awesome. I just haven't dove into that yet. So that's how we communicate, I guess is the best way to say it. ClickUp, WhatsApp, and that's pretty much it.
Are you liking ClickUp? I haven't actually dove into it that much. We use it for one thing in our business, just like marketing on Facebook. But how do you like using it, or at least like your team?
It's good. Monday you can do anything. ClickUp you can do anything. But once you get so used to Monday and then you switch to ClickUp, it's like, what is this? Like when you first dive into Monday, it's like I don't even know what I'm looking at. Then you learn it. And then you go to ClickUp, and ClickUp just kind of seems basic. And then, but like we just analyzed Monday for what we were really using. Like, what are we actually using? And it was like, well, we file claims through there and we track claims, we track damages, we track this. But then we built all these boards and we just quit using it. Like the team was like, no, I'd just rather, like the team actually made a full Excel file for themselves and said like how much claim is being approved and where is it at in status and all this stuff. Pictures, links to pictures, everything in Excel. And I was like, oh, that's free. If you guys want to use it, that's fine. So we just realized, like, that doesn't have, like, we don't need it Monday. So then we just realized it was a to-do list. And I was like, I'm not paying $2,000 a year for a to-do list. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So we went to ClickUp, totally free until you get into, like, a lot of the automations which we just really don't need.
Yeah, so. I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think it's so easy for people to get, like, bloated expense-wise in the business. And just forget it, or it's business lifestyle creep. The more money you make, the more subscriptions and agencies and people you bring on, and things just become less efficient. So that's like a real thing.
Running lean and running clean is something like I push really hard, like in PowerPath, is you want to run lean, you want to run clean. And we were talking about some expenses that I was telling one of the girls, I was like, just let them go. You don't need it. Just like a lot of people are in this business to get out of a W-2. To become financially free. Yep. And then they get a couple of properties and it's like, oh, I'm going to go with something like, and nothing against Guesty, but I'm going to go with Guesty. I had Guesty for a long time for the PMS, and it was outrageously expensive for what I was paying and what I was using it for. So, and we've been through Hospitable, Guesty, and then we went to OwnerRez. Cut the bill by 2/3. And you get like all this stuff. Like you can luxury yourself into the poorhouse if you're not careful. So you have to be careful because you're running a business at the end of the day. It has to make sense.
What'd you say you use now yourself?
OwnerRez.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's so easy to do, especially if you're just not careful and thinking about it. As far as like team management, how do you think about managing your team, or how do you manage your team as far as like meetings go? Sometimes another thing, lean and efficiency and all that. Like sometimes people, I've seen many in both directions, too few or too many meetings. So how do you think about meetings and how you have meetings with your team and communicate on that front?
Yeah. So I believe every business should have one meeting a week. So if
just one or at least one.
I mean, well, it depends. So I would have one standing meeting a week.
Okay.
1 hour meeting a week. And that would be like a severe catch up. So like, for instance, when we started, we were meeting several times a week for CRH, which is Cherokee Rose Homes, which is our management company. And we'd get on there and like everything was really knocked out in one meeting. And then we realized we were just sitting around for the others. And it's important to do that like at the very beginning. You get a new VA, You want to kind of familiarize yourself with them, that you want them to be with the team. So you have some camaraderie building there, but you should end up going to one meeting a week. I've met with people and coached people where they were doing a 15-minute stand-up every day. And it turned into a 30-minute stand-up and would turn into 45-minute. And it was just a checklist of to-do stuff. Did you get this stuff done yesterday? Okay, today I want you to do this. And then tomorrow, did you get this stuff done today or yesterday? Okay, I want you to. And I was like, stop, just do one. And what that does is that creates and empowers your team to go off and do what they need to do. Like if you're just micromanaging them every single day or 3 or 4 times a week, like that's what the end of day report's for. Mm-hmm. So you can go back through the end of day report from your team, every VA that worked. This is what I did today. Here's the big task that I got accomplished. Here's what's being handed off. And then the new VA could, a new team member for the shift could come in and pick up where they left off. And so one meeting a week should suffice for that business. And it's just, what do we have coming down the pipeline this week? Where are we at with, numbers or bookings, or what fires do we need to put out? And I would say that for everything. So like we used to have once a week meeting with all the cleaners for the hotel. Everybody would get on a Zoom call. And I realized like it was just too much because there's not really much there. Like, okay, what does the breakfast stuff look like? We have a lot of bookings coming in, whatever. What do you guys need? So we kind of moved it to every 2 weeks. And now we just kind of do like a touch and go. Like, hey, you need me, call me. How's this looking? How's that looking? For the company that we started for the 150 coming on, we are establishing a once a week meeting because we haven't done many meetings. It's just like, you available tomorrow? Like that's not very structural, especially when you start getting busy and you're starting to grow. You want to go by that calendar. Like you have to have something set in schedule, in stone on your schedule to meet everybody once a week. And even if there's nothing to do, like at least go through some wins, get some vibes from people like say, hey, you want to see them, they want to see you, and move on. So
is there, you just mentioned a few things there, but I guess the 2 questions I have are structure of that meeting and then end of day reports. You mentioned some high level on both, but if you could just kind of reiterate or confirm like what you need to see in those or what you look for.
Yeah. So end of day reports is really like here's why we implemented the end of day report. I heard it from some other people in the VA world that were like training VAs and they do this, they do that, and they were kind of like an agency that was casting VAs. And I was like, okay, so we didn't do them because we mainly we hired all ours pretty much direct, if you will, or have managed them directly. And what we found without it is that I couldn't see is I would have questions like, did this get done or did this get done? Where are we at in the process of this? Or 2 weeks ago, somebody did something and we can't figure out who it was. So you can say, not in a bad way, not even a good way or a bad way, just, hey, who handled this? Was it Finn? Was it Russell? And so the end of day report, I would encourage for the first month to read every single one of them. Just scan through them. Okay, there was a discount issued here. There was a refund issued here. Okay, cool. You're empowering them to make decisions, but also there's this validation behind it to say, well, dang, she answered the phone 27 times. How many bookings came out of that? 3 reservations were made. Okay, cool. So that'll kind of give me some idea of how overloaded are you too? Are you I'm going to help you figure out if you're overloaded or not. Most of the time you talk to any VA and they're like, no, I got plenty of time. I can keep going. I keep hardest working people I ever met.
Yeah.
And then it's too much when it becomes too much. And most people don't say anything until it becomes too much. So it is a way to kind of gauge their workload, but also to kind of see who's doing what got handed off. But it also allows the next VA to come in to say, hey, where were you at on this? Did you finish this? So it's a lot of ownership in that too. So that's end of day reports. That's a totally different channel. I mute it, and now I just go and see, if I need to read something, I'll just go back and read it.
I got you.
I remember, going back and reading something, and I'm like, yes, this is why we need it. And I'd show Allie, and I'm like, this is what I'm looking for. I don't have to ask anybody any questions. I can just read it right here. What was the other one that was
meetings, weekly meeting format? That you do, or a business owner out here is like, man, 1 meeting a week, that would be amazing instead of 10. How can you have a good structure in that? Yeah.
Yep. So we always start with wins, personal and professional. And the reason you do that is because, especially when you grow a new team, is everybody thinks it's just business. You just get on there. Yeah, I just want to know. I'm a hard ass. I don't have any time. Like, you're growing a business with a team of people that you're going to work with, hopefully forever, right? Like, you don't want anybody leaving. So you're kind of creating that, like I said, like camaraderie, family environment. So always start with that. Not more than like a minute a piece. I mean, like, you just blow through it, right? Professional and personal win, minute, maybe 2. I rode my motorcycle this weekend, got to spend a lot of time with the kids, went on vacation. Okay, cool. Then kind of move on. And then, you might have 5, 6, 7 people on this meeting, so you don't want to spend 30 minutes through wins. So say 10 minutes, first 10 minutes of meeting, wins. And then we will get into, and we used to do like bullet points, like meeting minutes. Mm-hmm. And I would still encourage you, especially at the early stages, like have some kind of like outline. And through the week, we would say, hey, we want to talk about this, and we'd update the list. Hey, we want to talk about this, update the list. Now it's more like Brittany has things she needs to talk about. Allie might bring something up she wants to talk about. I have one thing I want to discuss. And it's just like round robin questions. And so we really go through, like at the beginning, we would say, what's pressing, whatever the issues are pressing. Hey, we're launching this new listing. Where are we at? Will it be ready by Friday? Yada, yada, yada. Any new deadlines? Any kind of like pressing stuff we hit right out of the gate. And then after that, we might do some updates on claims or bookings coming in, or a storm that's coming in, or hey, we want to start doing these promotions. This is what we want to look for. And then we kind of set timelines for everybody. Hey, by Thursday, can you have this done? Friday, can you have this done? Cool. And we might message like back and forth privately for questions and stuff, and that kind of avoids the meetings. Or an update meeting. Just, hey, update me in the group chat and like tell me where you're at.
Cool.
That's what I would say for meeting wise. I come from very corporate of like everybody was in a meeting all day long, and Tesla they just opened some kind of like plan of like, if you're in a meeting, Elon Musk was like, if you're in a meeting and in the first 10 minutes at any point in the meeting you don't feel like you should be there anymore, just leave, get up and walk out. I'm like, dude, I wish most meetings can be solved with an email or a message.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. So many good points there. So appreciate that. On, I guess, a team structure, something I think about a lot is incentives and motivations. Mm-hmm. Curious if there's anything you've experimented with that's been good, bad, or not, if you just have something that works now as far as either bonuses or comp plans or anything that can make sure people have some alignment of interest, or they're just motivated and good to go. Or it could just be, hey, our culture is awesome and people are bought in and we don't even need that stuff. Where do you fall on it?
I believe in like empowering the entire team for whatever it is. So I'll give you, for instance, like we don't do any kind of, now for Brittany, we have like a totally different pay structure than we do for like the VA team. But at any point, if anybody on the team says, I need X, Y, and Z to make my job better, I want to hear it. So we actually just did this like 2 weeks ago. We said, we were on a team meeting. We said, what can we do for you for your work to be more efficient? And all of them said, we could use a better computer screen, like a bigger one. And I was like, okay, interesting. And no questions asked. We said, send it to me. Send me what you're talking about. And I don't remember how much they were, like $250 a piece or something. I don't know, something like that. And we bought 3 of them. And we just paid Louie, which is our head VA. We just said, handle it. Like, she handled it. She shipped them to everybody's house, including herself. And they sent us pictures, like this huge, like, curved screen, computer screen. And I was like, I don't even have one of those. I don't have a screen like, I've been wanting one forever, and I just don't have one. But we just said, okay, if that's what you want, then that's what we'll do. We also have bought, years ago, Louie started out, we got her a new phone. We said, okay, like, she had some crappy phone, and she was working off shift, helping us out with stuff on her phone. And she was like, my phone is trash. So we kind of worked on the back end and surprised her with a new phone. Brittany, she travels to all the cabins. So we pay for like half of her tires. We actually just had a meeting where we're actually going to be giving her like a vehicle stipend every month. So she does all the driving, does all the site visits and all that. And we just said, like, this would be the idea is like, how do you make it sticky? Like, how do you make it where nobody ever wants to leave? You teach them everything that they need to know to leave, but you treat them so well that they never want to leave. So things like that. I mean, we don't do, like, Brittany's on like a bonus plan. She's got like a base plus bonus, but the VA team, like, we do the Christmas bonus, which is one month of salary in December. And then other than that, like, we just want to make sure that we compensate them well through the year.
I gotcha. I love that. What do you see as right now the biggest challenge in your business, or something that or a personal challenge in the business? So, either business or in what you're trying to solve or figure something out at the moment.
That's a good question. I would say number one's always time, right? There's always, we always want more time, and it may be running so close after the gym to get to the first meeting. It could be in between meetings where you're like, hey, I would really like I didn't schedule it, so I'd rather go for a walk or whatever. Like, there's always that, I wish I had just a few more minutes. And so that's something that I think every business, every person in their life experiences. It doesn't matter if you're in the W-2 or if you're leaving the W-2 to go start your business. You just started your business and you're growing like crazy. Now you're established. Now you're starting another business. And then you're starting to scale. And you're working the who, not how, but it's in between now and finding the who. And so it's always time. But another thing is, there's so much I want to do. So much I want to do. And it's like, you got to get good at one thing first. Then you can branch off. So, like, I don't want to say perfect your systems and operations for something, but get pretty freaking good at it, where you realize, like, you're kind of doing the loop of a feedback loop of, like, what's working, what's not, what's working, what's not.
100%.
And I would say, like, once you get to a certain point, then you can kind of venture into something else. And a lot of people don't even, like, squeeze out everything they can out of one business before they try to start another one. So, like, got 10 properties, got all this room to grow, and then they're like, well, I'm going to go start this, like, design company because I think I can make more money over here. And then they, like, get halfway there, and then they're like, well, I need to do this yard maintenance business too. And you're just like, what are you doing? You've got 2 properties over here, you got 10 over here, you got 4 clients over. Like, pick something and freaking stick to it. Like, that's what it's about. And so there's always the shiny object syndrome, if that makes sense.
100%.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, that makes total sense. Just because we are tight on time, I don't want to shortchange this here. What is the best way for people to find you, get in touch with you? I mean, I'd love to even do this conversation go on for another hour, and we're talking tomorrow also, just for timing. But yeah, what's the best way for people to check you out? I've been loving your Facebook content, or get in touch, or just see your hotels, your real estate, all that.
Yep. So you can just follow me on Facebook or Instagram, just Kyle Fugatt, or Instagram is the Kyle Fugatt, and then last name is Fugatt. So just FYI. But we also have a free Facebook group called Power Path. It's Airbnbs, boutique hotels, and real estate, creative real estate. You can get in that. Totally free to get in that. We do a lot of trainings and a lot of community building in there. And then, powerpathconsulting.com would be like another way. We're like building some masterclasses for just free content, free stuff.
Sweet.
For STRs. Other than that, really just join the Facebook group. If you DM me, you can send me a DM. I'm sure you could find my phone number online somewhere. You just send me a text. I'll answer. It's always me. So
epic. Kyle, I really enjoyed it, man. Again, we were chatting for a while before we even got rolling here, so I wanted to make sure we got to the meat and got into it, which we did, and really cool what you're building and what you have going on, and can't wait to watch it in 2025, my man.
Appreciate you.
All right, well, all the best, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right.